what does losing control actually look like? I mean, for everyone, it's a little bit different. And I took a deep breath there because I've lost control in businesses. It's like you've got a cup, it's full, and you can't take any more shit on. And what happens is some of your best opportunities come right when you're, not capable of managing those opportunities. And ultimately, that's, in a nutshell, what losing control looks like.
Welcome to the Onsite Podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Onsite Podcast. Super excited about these next couple episodes. We are going to be doing a series, an 8-part series, 8-episode series on why contractors lose control. The whole series is about contractor control and contractors getting more of their time back, understanding what are some of the the barriers that are existing that are creating these challenges. And so I want contractors to understand, I want you to take away from this episode or these episodes that you're not broken, It's the systems and the things that you've implemented into your business that just need some small modifications, and you can literally soar with your business. And the reason I know this is because I've seen it happen time and time again with hundreds of contractors that I've been able to work with all across North America. So if you're a contractor, you're serious about growing your business, you're definitely going to want to dig into these next 8 episodes. It's literally free. 8 hours for the most part. It'll be about 8 hours total of content on how to get control with your construction business. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And so let's dig into this. So I've got about a few different points that we want to discuss, and I'm excited to dig into this with you. So one of the things that I've seen time and time again why contractors are losing control and they're not talking about it is all of the stuff in the background, all of the noise, all of the challenges, the communication, all of these unknown struggles that they're facing every day. They're facing struggles every day. And it comes down to organization and really understanding exactly what needs to be done in order for you to gain control of your communication. I think this is one of the biggest problems that a lot of contractors face is they struggle with, just formulating a process on communication. And so one of the things that I would suggest that you consider doing when you are trying to organize control without freaking out, without panicking, is to give yourself, permission to respond to things when you have the answer or when you're in the right headspace. So one of the things that I do is, if I have an email or text or something that's challenging and I'm trying to organize people, I will always leave that message unread until I'm ready to go to it, or I will reply and save it in a draft with my thoughts in that moment. Because typically if you respond to anything in that moment, you're going to be responding out of reaction. And this can be like good and bad things as well. Like this is just literally about communication, but you could create a form of response in that moment, all based on reaction. Come back to it when you feel like you've, organized your thoughts a little bit about it, because you're going to be thinking about it throughout the day, trying to find a way to problem solve, trying to find a way to organize yourself and really, reposition yourself on that topic, and then come back to it and reframe, how you're approaching that challenge. I think the biggest thing is that people avoid communication when they don't know what to do. They just break down. They just don't respond. I think it's critical as a contractor to be very good at communication. That is the definition of a successful contractor, is somebody that can actually communicate. You can hear the pain that clients face on a daily is that, people are just ghosting. There's silence. There's all this stuff going on. Well, I mean, we can contribute to the success of just better communicating and organizing ourselves. So hold yourself accountable. In 2026, hold yourself accountable to communicating and responding to people. It's simple, just a simple response, but only respond when you're ready. Don't respond out of reaction. So there's the trap of being busy. This is a great topic that I want to dig into. A lot of contractors think that being busy is healthy and that they're producing solutions for their business, and they're not. If you don't have a framework and a strategy on how you're going to run your day and scenarios that you're going through, whether it's, estimating, invoicing, counting, managing the project, because it really depends on what type of contractor this is. So let's say this is a smaller contractor, that's listening to this right now. And I'm gonna do a larger scale contractor. So smaller contractor, you're doing everything, right? You're doing the estimates, you're doing the invoicing, you're doing the site work, you're doing, you're going home with your family, and then you're doing all these other things. And you feel really busy, but you're not producing any growth with your business because you're doing tasks that you shouldn't be doing. What a true business owner is somebody that identifies other jobs, right? I don't know if you've heard that analogy where, in your business, your job is to wear several different hats. Your job as a business owner is to remove those hats and allocate them to other people. And so obviously you're going to be busy if you're wearing every hat in the business as a small contractor. Your job immediately is to identify a task that you can offload to somebody else. And now with what we have with virtual assistants, with people that are working remote, you can literally offload this stuff. You can have a backpack full of like 50 different people. You can also use AI agents if you're unfamiliar with that. I mean, definitely I would start investigating that side of things, using ChatGPT and building AI agents to help you organize this busy chaos. And, people overseas and that are working remote will help you organize your efficiency, and operating costs of that will be much more cost effective. If you're a larger company and you feel like you're just busy, you're probably doing other tasks for other people, and you're not giving people the control that they need and the confidence that they need to do their job. So look at your inventory of personnel that you have. If you're a larger company, look at your inventory, your personnel, and identify, do I have everybody clearly identified in their role and their position? And then identify, no different than the small guy, identify the hats that are misaligned with those people and offload them to other people. A successful business is one that can run efficiently and just doesn't sit there and complain that we're busy. We're doing busy work, but you're not really growing the business. So what does control actually feel like when you're losing control? Okay. And you're busy, but you're actually, you're not moving forward. You're working hard, doing all these things, and things start to fall apart along the way. Your family starts to fall apart. Your relationships start to fall apart. Your friendships start to fall apart. If you're a parent, your parenting starts to, kind of collapse. And what's happening is you're sabotaging yourself by claiming to be busy, by losing control of your business. You can't give those items in your life. All of those items in your life require a certain amount of bandwidth dedicated towards them. And as soon as you start doing things inside of your business that you shouldn't be doing, you ultimately fail in those other industries or those other areas of your life. And so, I challenge you to take a look at your personal life and your friendships, your relationships, and all of those things. And we can all be better. Even myself, we can always be better at all of this stuff. But I think it's sometimes that we have to take an inventory of, what are we dedicating our time to just think that we're working hard, to think that we're actually growing our business, when in actuality, we're letting down all of these other people in our life, which ultimately will help us crumble. And there's crazy stat that, I don't know if it's like global, all across North America, but we did a poll from a specific city, and I'm not going to mention it, did a poll from a specific city. I think we polled about 500 contractors, AI tools. You can find people anywhere, right? And so we found 500 contractors in one specific city that are all remodeling contractors. And in that poll, over a course of a 5-year span, 40% of those businesses failed. 40% of the businesses failed, which is crazy. And so if you're, listening to this and you feel like you are failing, you probably aren't. You're probably just misdelegating your tasks and, you're losing control. And that's ultimately what it looks like, is that, when you don't have control of these things that you need to do, and you think you're working hard, when you think that you're staying busy, you're not providing the business the health and success that it deserves. So, it's a crazy stat. 40% of, contractors out of 500 failed. And I know this because I called all of them, and 40% of them, their numbers were disconnected, which is crazy. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're really just trying to help you, avoid being that statistic. And, I'm going to search that up to find out what a global statistic looks like. That'll be a little bit more work on our end, and it might not be as accurate, but that was accurate. That was 500 calls, and 40% of them, there was no number left. So, just take a moment and breathe and understand that everything will be okay. There is a solution to every problem. I literally believe this. Every problem has a solution. Sometimes they just don't present themselves when you need them. And so you have to take a moment to pause, reflect, and just kind of realign yourself so that you can catch those solutions when you're ready.
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month, but every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
Okay, so let's just say hypothetically you're a contractor that still feels overwhelmed. You're getting leads and you're just like, man, I've got a large pipeline of work. So I've talked to people like that. They're booked out for the whole year, which is crazy to say. Never say that you're booked out for the whole year, because that means that you're missing opportunities that are literally landing on your desk. And so, the reason you feel overwhelmed because you don't have systems in place. You haven't identified those hats that need to be removed and reallocated to other people. You don't have the right software, maybe implementing a software with a virtual assistant, organizing all that stuff so that you've offloaded tasks to other people. I don't know if you've had a chance to read my book yet. I've got a book that is called Lead, Close, Build, Repeat. It is on Amazon. It's like $24 Canadian, $18 American. Inside that book, it has a framework. And literally the other day, somebody just texted me about how they were able to pull one of the frameworks that we had written in the book to optimize their business and create more efficiency because he's busy. And so, that book will help you. I am also writing another book that's fixated on your superpower. And I believe that every person has an internal skill and ability or a superpower. And quite often they force themselves, even if you're busy, they force themselves to do things that they're not good at, that are outside of their skills and abilities. And you would think that that is a good thing for you to do. And I mean, it is good to challenge yourself. It's good to grow. It's good to develop, but it is also good to identify what you are good at or what you are great at and offloading those things to other people that you are not so great at. Because just imagine this, like what if in a 8-hour, 10-hour day, or 12-hour day, however long your days are, what if in that period of time, you were able to focus on just doing what you're good at? How much more successful would your business be, right? You're the driving force behind the growth of your business. And even if you're busy, you're booked out for a whole year. If you can separate yourself from that busyness, right, from being booked out and understand, hey, this is not good for us to be this far booked out. Maybe we have to, hire more people. Maybe we have to build new systems so we can, operate more projects. What if you're throwing away millions of dollars for you and your family because you're too freaking lazy to just organize your business? Like that's literally what it comes down to. If you're booked out for a whole year, or even 6 months, and you don't have systems in place to bring that down to 2 months or 3 months, you have to identify, what am I doing? Am I doing what I should be really doing? And who should I bring on board that has different skills and abilities that I have, so it complements what we're doing. And so collectively together, we can deal with this large workflow of work to create more efficiency, to make more money for the business. So hypothetically, let's say that you're not booked out for the whole year, okay, or 6 months or 3 months, and you're struggling to get leads. It still comes down to a systems problem, at the end of the day. And maybe you aren't sales. Maybe you're not the sales guy. Maybe you're the doer of the work. And maybe you need to find a way to build and incorporate a salesperson into your business to help you build that muscle. Because here's the reality, and I'm sorry if you're not into sales. If you are a business owner, okay, if you're any form of entrepreneur, I believe that there are 2 skills that you have to possess. One, you have to understand how to do the work, okay, that you're providing as a service. The other one is sales. And so if you want to be an entrepreneur, you are in control of your business. And sales are, basically fundamentally, it's the power, it's the energy that every business requires. And so if you have no leads right now, if you have no opportunities, and you feel like you've been literally trying for a long time and you have connected with us, you're in our community, or maybe you've considered entering into our community, we can help you build a sales framework. Okay, it's not over. You should be able to understand exactly how to generate leads, like on demand. And contractors that we work with do that every day. They generate leads on demand, and they're in control. They're in control of that opportunity. When they go to look at the job, they're in control of the opportunity because they're framing the conversation to generate an outcome. They're framing it with the outcome in mind. They're not just going in there to build out an estimate and send it out with hopes and prayers. It comes down to being in command of the outcome for you and your family. All right, so this whole episode is about what does losing control actually look like? I mean, for everyone, it's a little bit different. And I took a deep breath there because I've lost control in my business and businesses. And losing control is when you expand past a point of where it should break. And now you're holding it together with duct tape and shoestrings and rubber bands, and hopefully you can follow along with that analogy. But your business is growing, right? You're generating leads. You got to do the work. You got to invoice. You got to estimate. You got all these tasks. And so at some point, something is breaking because the cup is full. I've used this analogy. This might be a better one for you. Imagine that you've got a cup, right? Okay. And inside the cup are tasks or challenges or problems or, responsibilities or to-do tasks. And the cup is filling up. Okay. Everybody's cup is different. I feel like I can handle like a really big cup. So everybody's cup is a little bit different. And so this cup is filling up with challenges, situations. And at some point, the cup is full and it overfills. And that's essentially what it looks like. What's happening in that moment when the cup is full and things are falling off the edge is that you're missing opportunities, right? You're missing opportunities that are falling over top of your cup, what you're capable of managing and maintaining. And so losing control literally looks like that. It's like you've got a cup, it's full, and you can't take any more shit on. And what happens is some of your best opportunities come right when you're not capable of managing those opportunities. And ultimately that's, in a nutshell, what losing control looks like. All right. So what ultimately happens when you start to lose control and how things kind of spill over and spill into the next thing is that you've got all these different items going on, right? You've got estimating, invoicing, doing the work, marketing your business, networking with people, you've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got date night, whatever it might be. You've got all these different things going on. And when you get your cup full and one of those items call upon you to deal with them, you're not available because you're putting out a fire somewhere else. So literally all it is you're doing everything you can to try to hold the edges of that cup up. And that's ultimately what losing control ultimately looks like. And when everything starts to spill over, you start to fail in other areas and you resort to the things that you're comfortable with. You resort to the things that you feel safe with, and you neglect the things you don't, which ultimately, basically identifies somebody else needs to do that task for you. And so as you've built your business, I think people mismanage their opportunities. I think there are opportunities in the build, right, where it's crystal clear that there is somebody that could do this other task that, we have to offload, and you don't give it to someone because you're afraid to trust somebody else. You're afraid to hire a coach, or you're afraid to hire an assistant because, what if you don't have enough work for them in 6 months, or what if you can't afford to, keep them going? You have to identify the problem, identify the challenge, okay? And then replace that task creation with somebody else that's capable of doing it. And if you can do that, then you're not going to lose control. If you're trying to regain control, you have to calm down for a second. You have to take a breath, and you have to get somebody in your life to help you support you and understand, the areas that you should be focusing your time, energy, and resources. And once you have that in place, once you have the identification of those tasks, you have to offload them to somebody. Offload the tasks to somebody so that they can manage the expectations of those responsibilities.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Onsite Podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
Okay, so for some of you, you may be calm all the time through all the shit. And for some of you, you may be stressed the entire time through all the shit. And there's a difference. It's kind of like your problem-solving muscle. You've maybe been able to navigate more complex stuff. And so you're naive to the situation where you're just like, it's whatever. Or maybe your accountability is shit and you're not accountable to the outlying problems. I work with lots of people that don't respond to their phones. It drives me fucking nuts because it's a sign of disrespect. If you don't respond to an email, a text, or a phone call, it's a sign of disrespect at the end of the day. And I truly believe that. I think no response is a response in itself. And it shows that there is a line of disrespect, or maybe they just are losing control and they're not capable of providing adequate responses because they don't know what the response is. And so for some of you, you're cool with that. You're cool with being, neglecting and rude and it is rude, at the end of the day. And for some of you, it may bother you. It may really dig at you and upset you. And that's where the stress comes from, is by letting people down, And so for some of you that aren't, struggling and stressed and frustrated about losing control, maybe you don't care. Maybe you got to look at yourself and say, you know what, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'm just not a good person. Maybe I don't care about other people's time. And I don't work with those type of people. Like I don't work with people that don't respect my time and don't respect their own time. And so, I do end up working with, people that are stressed and struggling quite frequently. And we get them in a position where they understand that they're in control and they need to offload the appropriate things to the appropriate people. I have this one electrician that I work with. He's been on his own for, I think, just over 10 years. He's up in BC, and he's just a single man guy. So he's doing all this shit. And he always responds. He's always communicative. And his cup is at the top for control, but he quickly identifies the tasks and offloads them and just stays responsive, stays intentional, and is investing more time. It's not an 8-hour day. It's probably a 12 to 14-hour day, but that's what entrepreneurism is like. It's 7 days a week for as many hours as you can stay awake. And the guys who can continue to battle through growth and development are the ones that are going to win. So if you're listening to this episode, okay, and if this is hitting home with you, you're really vibing with what we're talking about, and you feel like, maybe you've lost a bit of control with your construction business and you really want to realign yourself, I want you to DM me. I want you to go in to Instagram and shoot me a DM, or I want you to go and email us and find us. You can go to our website, ebsworks.com, schedule a call, and we're here to help you. Lower your ego, lower your fear, lower whatever barrier exists where you are afraid to have that conversation, because what you're ultimately afraid of is uncovering what the fuck is going on. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to uncover exactly what's going on so that you can get some life back for you and your family. And so I want you to feel reassured that there is a system, there's people that are out there that want to support you. I wish earlier on in my construction business, for the first 5 years, I think when I went on my own, so I give you a little backstory. I was an industrial carpenter at a gas plant, traveling all around, and I was pretty young. I was a supervisor. I was making really good money, but I was surrounded with a lot of men that were, into drugs, alcohol, infidelity, and it was toxic. It was a toxic environment. And I didn't know this at the time, but I just didn't elevate with that group of people. There was several great people in that group, but there was a lot of people that I just didn't want to be around. And so, going on my own, and I left in my first year of business. I think I did 120,000 when I was, an industrial carpenter, super young, first year of business, 30 grand. And my family at the time didn't know anything different. We were broke, in debt, didn't know how I was getting leads, didn't know how I was operating my business, didn't know how to move forward. I literally was not in control. Okay. It's not that I didn't lose control. I had no control, and I had nobody to ask, nobody to talk to. And I find that, there are questions that come up throughout the day, super simple questions where it's just like a directional question. Hey, I want to go this way or that way. I want to do this or that. And quite often we don't know what the answers are. And now we have ChatGPT, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have all these things, which can provide us with a little bit too much noise, unfortunately, but also can provide us with some solutions. And then when you enhance that with a coach or a mentor or a community like ours, you can really redirect your alignment and really get clarity on your direction. I wish I had what we have right now. And that's truly why I built the Elite Builders Society in this coaching community, is because I needed it. I really did. I needed it. And I put myself through hell for 10 years before I figured it out. And then I mastered it. And then I just continued to refine the process and continue to move forward, make things better, learn from my mistakes. And that is not the way to grow your business. That is miserable. But my pain is your opportunity. And so I want you to feel reassured that we're here to help you. You don't need to do this anymore alone. So don't wait for episode 2 on losing control. Go in there and jump on one of our calls today, and you'll see exactly how we're there to help you. All right. So that concludes episode 1, okay, of the series of 8 on contractor control. Our next episode is going to be discussing how to get your clients to respect you. Our next episode is how to get your clients to respect you. A lot of contractors feel like there's this push-pull dynamic between the client and the contractor, and it comes down to authority. As the contractor, you have to command a form of authority in your space. You cannot have your clients controlling the project. That is a dynamic that doesn't work. It's not efficient. They've hired you to do a task. They have to then trust you to do that task, but you have to give them the reassurance that you're capable of doing the task. And so when you don't give them that reassurance that you're capable of doing the task, they lose trust in you, they lose respect for you, and ultimately everything falls apart and there's a giant collapse. So we're going to be digging into that on the next episode. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, please go to our YouTube page, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share this with somebody that you think could benefit from it. We have 7 more great episodes about contractor control. We're going to help you get the roadmap, the path, the direction to help you grow your business in 2026. And I'm freaking excited to be there with you throughout this entire journey. So thank you so much. Until next episode.
All right, that concludes this episode of the Onsite Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month. Okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.